Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for tuning in. What a wild weekend this was. Good grief. This was the weekend of the 15th Rock the Parkway half marathon. Of those, I'm looking at my medal wall, a lot. I've done a lot of them. I've done a lot of Rock the Parkway. But any weekend where we have the expo, working a table at the expo before the race, it just feels like everything goes so quickly and it's always so crazy. But it was a great weekend and I had a blast. So Friday, we were at the Rock the Parkway Half Marathon Expo. It was at the Doubletree Hotel in beautiful Overland Park, Kansas. Was it Overland Park? Yes, it's in Overland Park. But that's where we were. Had the table set up, met a lot of new people. A lot of people who had heard of the show stopped by and said hello. Always a super fun time. Again, Mr. Richardson from Arkansas, he came up, he did Rock the Parkway. Pretty soon, some of these races are going to need to kick back a little dough to yours truly because we're getting people from out of state coming up to these races because of us talking about it here on the podcast. So, you could just saying, but whatever. So we had fun. It was a kind of a long day. The expo started a little slow, I thought, so I was a little worried, but thankfully it picked up. And again, we got to see a lot of people, met some people who had discovered the podcast, but I never got to meet before. So that was really great to meet those folks as well. So once the expo ends at 7 o'clock, then I am already hammered down, heading home, trying to get back to the hacienda, get some spaghetti made because I'm a big carb loader because I need excuses to eat carbs. Sure, we'll go with that. But I do like to have my little pre-race spaghetti. Got the spaghetti going, got it eaten, tried to get in bed at a decent time. That doesn't happen the night before a race because who gets to bed at a decent time the night before a race? And then who can sleep once you get to bed? Well, not me, not ever. But hey, laid down, went to bed, got to sleep, did what I could. Woke up in the morning, Saturday morning. It was race morning. So Rock the Parkway is about a 20-minute drive from my front door. Not a big deal. But because I am a classic overthinker and I worry about everything going wrong on race morning, I left the house about 2 hours before the race started, just to make sure I had a parking spot at the place in which I like to park for that race. It's a high school that's right along the course, Rockhurst High School. I've parked there every year, and I'm always worried that I'm going to pull into the parking lot and it's just going to be jam packed and there's not going to be room and I'm going to have to go park somewhere else and I don't know where I'm going to park and I might be late to the start line. And yes, I am ridiculous. These are the things that go through my tiny little brain. Fortunately for me, I was the second car to enter the entire parking lot that morning. Yeah. Yeah, I was the second guy there. So I might have been there just a little too early. Oh well, it's fine. It gives me time. I kind of sat in the car, got myself mentally prepared, make sure I took, some drinks of water, finished my coffee because I must have coffee before a race. It is mandatory. And then I made my way down to the start line where I think I saw everybody. I mean, I think anyone here in the Kansas City running community, unless you were doing a race out of town or you already had another race, you were there. You were at Rock the Parkway. Most of us are there. It's over 5,000 people show up every year for Rock the Parkway. They did say that this year was the biggest post-coronavirus Rock the Parkway they've ever done. So looks like RTP is getting back to where they were before the pandemic. So that is actually very encouraging news. I wish that same level of success on all the races around town. I hope that everybody kind of gets back to where they were before the pandemic started when running was really hot. It definitely cooled off for a period. I hope it is on its way back up. And then we're going to wrongfully, but we're still going to say it's because of this podcast. It's not, but we're going to claim that because, I'll have numbers to back that up and you can't prove me wrong, even though I know I'm full of malarkey and now I've said it for all of you to know. But whatever. So Rock the Parkway is a really fun half marathon. If you did the Liberty half 2 weeks ago, Rock the Parkway seems like a sweet dream, right? The hills are not nearly as bad, although there are hills. No one is ever going to sit here and try and tell you that Rock the Parkway is flat. It is not flat. It just isn't Liberty. So really, Rock the Parkway is great. You start on a nice flat stretch for about the first mile. You go through the starting chutes. They have a wave start. Thankfully, the waves went pretty quick, and on we went. You go down Ward Parkway, and then you basically do a loop, and you start going back up the other side of Ward Parkway. You're on Ward Parkway, say that 3 times fast, a lot on this course. But we did the nice little loop. You hit mile marker 1. After mile marker 1, you hit your first little hill. Again, after Liberty, this hill is no problem. Up the little hill you go, down the backside of that little hill you go, up a little bit of a bigger hill you go, down the backside of the bigger hill you go, and then you have a nice little slow gradual. You're at mile 2 plus. You're going past Ward Parkway Mall. You're heading up to the ritzy fancy part of Ward Parkway where all the really old houses are, which are really super cool to look at. Like I love running along Ward Parkway because it is a very beautiful course and you see a lot of the really big historic houses here in Kansas City. So very cool. You're cruising along mile 3, mile 4, mile 5. Mile 5, you make the turn and you head back into the neighborhoods. Very nice neighborhoods, nice houses, and you're winding around the neighborhoods a little bit just to kind of, track the mileage, keep the mileage up because you can't just go up and down Ward Parkway. You'd run into the plaza, and no one wants to do that, right? Unless you're doing a race that runs into the plaza. After you get past the halfway point, you're past mile 6. And again, you're doing these rolling hills back in neighborhoods. We do them every year, but it's funny because it's just these rolling hills right in the back of a neighborhood. But after the halfway point, you head up the hill and you hit Loose Park. Now, you get to go around Loose Park. Loose Park is a very nice park. It's in Kansas City, Missouri. A lot of people, including people I know, have had weddings at Loose Park. So it is a very beautiful place. You run along, I don't know, you probably cover 3/4 of it just by going around it on the Rock the Parkway route. So you go down, or I'm sorry, I'm going to backtrack there. You go up the hill and you're like, oh, look, there's God, I can't talk. Maybe I'll cut this part out. Maybe I won't. Who knows? You go up, you see Loose Park. There is Loose Park. Look, I'm looking at Loose Park. You run to it, you take a right. You're staying on the road that goes around Loose Park. And you go up a little bit, and then you get a really great downhill after you turn left, and you're going along the front, what I consider the front of Loose Park. So a nice downhill there. You go to the other end of the park, and you hang another left, and this is where you get the worst hill of the course. So you've already passed mile marker 7. You're in between 7 and 8. And this is where you get the worst hill. It's the Loose Park hill of the course. Honestly, this year, for whatever reason, it didn't seem too bad to me. I don't know. Maybe I finally matured in my running. Maybe hills don't bother me as much anymore. Yeah, right. But this year didn't seem too bad. So we got up the hill at Loose Park in between mile markers 7 and 8. You get to that top of that hill. You get a nice little downhill as you are now moving away from Loose Park. You've covered most of it. Now you're moving away. Then nice little downhill. You catch your breath after the horrible Loose Park hill. Then you got to go back uphill again. And that's when you hit mile marker 8. Now, when you hit mile marker 8, you hang a right. You get back to Ward Parkway, the big road that it takes up about 85% of this race, if not 90% of the race. And when you get back on Ward Parkway, you hang a left. And now, after mile marker 8, you are straight shot all the way to the finish. This is the last road that you're going to be on. And it is just hammer down, baby. So after mile marker 8, we've told people this, you try and kind of keep a little bit in the reserves because then you have some pretty flat, fast, get back to the finish line. Now, there are 2 hills that you still have to conquer. They aren't pleasant, but they're also not the worst hills you've ever done in your life. So I am moving along. This is just now me personally. I told everyone, 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was just last week, I thought because I performed well for me at Liberty, I thought, okay, maybe I could actually PR Rock the Parkway because I know that course. It's the half marathon I've done the most in this world. So I know the course. It looks like good race conditions. I feel like I'm in decent running shape right now. I did well at Liberty, and Liberty is difficult. It was the fastest Liberty I'd ever run, and it was only 3 minutes faster, or I'm sorry, it was only 3 minutes slower than the fastest Rock the Parkway I'd ever done. So Liberty was at 2:41, I think, 2 weeks ago, and the fastest Rock the Parkway I'd ever done was like 2:38. Is that right? Boy, now I'm going to doubt my own numbers. It matters not. It matters not. Either which way, I thought I might be looking at a PR this year for the 2024 Rock the Parkway. Well, then after Liberty, we go to our next event, which was last week's Easter egg 10K, where I, as I told you, laid an egg. I was awful, horrible 10K. And I thought, okay, well, my PR dreams are now completely dashed. Whatever is going on, something is clearly wrong with my body. I am out of shape. I'm a terrible runner. I should just burn my running shoes right here on the course because what in the world? This was a terrible, terrible 10K. Thankfully, there are listeners of the podcast who listened to that episode and sent me messages or responded to things on Facebook and said, whoa, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It was just a bad race. And bad races happen. We all know this. Bad races happen. But it was in my head. It was absolutely in my head. So anyway, we get to Rock the Parkway. We have made the left at mile 8. We're now on Ward Parkway and we're heading back. Okay. And I'm thinking this whole race, the whole race, if you'd listen back, I said I wanted to stay with the 235 Pacers. Now, for this entire race, I have stayed in front of them. They have been to my rear, although I have never looked back to see how close they were. And every time someone would start coming up on my left and I could hear people talking, I'm thinking, well, that's got to be the pace group because there's people talking and Pacers are really good at talking to their people and keeping them motivated, keeping them moving, having conversations, things that I can't do because I have to focus on this little thing called breathing. I have to breathe if I'm running at that pace. They can talk. I have to breathe. So every time someone would come up to my left talking and be like, oh, there's the Pacers. And I'd kind of glance over, just give them a little side eye. Like, oh, okay, good. It's not them. Oh, it's good. It's other people who are having fun. Well, look at them. Aren't they great? They get to have fun. I'm dying. I'm dying on this course and you're laughing at things. But I would always think of it as a pacer. So I'm moving along. We're past mile 8. I've been running a good race because, again, I'm keeping 235 in the rearview mirror, however close they might be. We get to the second to last hill, and I want to say it's around mile 10. And we're going up that hill. And this is like the first time I go to the aid station, not the first time through the aid station, but the first time through the aid station where I took my water and then my Gatorade, but I kept the walk going. I didn't just slam my drinks and then get back to my jog. I was going to walk this hill going up because I was hurting at that point. I was running a faster pace than I'd ever run before. Well, we're going up that hill, and that's when it happened. I heard people talking next to me, and I thought, oh no, this is going to be them, isn't it? I do this slow side eye. Sure enough, it was the 235 pacer. And going up that hill, the 235 pacer probably got 50 yards in front of me. And I'm starting to do a little power walk, getting up that hill. Here I go. I'm power walking. Like, I'm not going to let them out of my sight. Get to that top of that hill. And I think adrenaline kicked in or just the sheer terror that they had caught up with me. And we get up that mile 10 hill and then zoom. I take off and I am heading down the hill. I'm heading down that backside and I'm going to go for all I've got because I know the next hill is at mile 12. So zoom, I go past the pacer and I'm still going and I'm running as hard as I can. And we get down that hill. We got a nice little flat stretch. I'm still going, still got my pace going. Had to dial it back a little bit so I didn't burn myself out with whatever was left in the tanks, which wasn't much. We get to the hill at mile 12. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to look behind me, but I also know I cannot attack this hill because I am on E at this point. I got nothing. I am running on fumes. So I get up the hill at mile 12 just as fast as I can. And going up that whole hill, they never caught me. I wasn't listening for them. I had my music cranked really loud at that point. But we get up the hill at 12 and 235 had not evened up with me yet. I'm like, okay, I know that after we get to the mile marker that says 1, 2, it is all downhill from here. That's not an expression. That's not hopeful optimism. That is how it is. It is all downhill from that mile marker 12 through the finish line. So I'm like, okay, everything you got, man, everything you got, you put it into this last mile. Let's go. And that's exactly what I did. And I was able to finish the race in 2:34:38. So I beat the 2:35. I got a new half marathon PR, beat it by about 2.5 minutes, somewhere in there. And so I was very pleased with myself. And thank you to the people who sent me the encouragement after being down on myself last week after the Easter egg 10K, because I really did not run a good race. But I was able to PR this race. I PR'd Rock the Parkway, which, as a lot of you know, as I've said before, was my very first half marathon back in 2011. And so here in 2024, many, many, many years later, I was able to PR. So that's a good feeling. Not too bad. So now, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, more on that later, but I'm going to show you the medal because we like to do that. Here is the medal if you're looking. I'll try not to get too much reflection on it there. So as you can see, this was the 15th Rock the Parkway. I've done the vast majority of those, not all of them. I wasn't there for the first year because I hadn't taken up running yet. And then I missed 2 years due to the open heart surgeries. So I've got, what, I guess it would be 12 then, 12 of the 15. That's not bad. Not bad. I'll take that. I will take that. So anyway, a great time. It looks like on social media, many of you have new PRs at Rock the Parkway. Rock the Parkway was perfect weather for running, except for the wind. It was pretty breezy. The wind was pushing us out for the first half of the race, but you did have to fight it at times coming back in. It wasn't completely all the way back in because of the hills. So if you got low enough, that wind wasn't getting to you. But when you got to the top of a few of those hills, it was pretty gusty. Not enough to blow you back, but enough that you noticed. But the temperature was perfect. It was dry, no rain, low humidity. It worked out really well for us. So congratulations to everyone who completed Rock the Parkway. Great job to anyone who PR'd out there. And I know that there were a lot of you. I know a few of us had races in other parts of the country. Congratulations to you on your race. And whatever everyone else did that weekend, hey, good job out of you. You know what? This was a beautiful weekend. It really feels like spring running season is a firm go now. Like I'm looking at our extended forecast here in my area. Beautiful weather coming up. Still in the 40s in the morning, but warming up, sometimes 60s, even 70s. I think I even saw an 80 coming up somewhere, but it's going to be while I'm out of town. Speaking of which, as we know, the next stop for the podcast is not in Kansas City, and it is not for a half marathon. We are hitting the road, Jack. We are heading to South Carolina for the Too Slow for Boston Marathon. I told a lot of you about this race at the expo as we just, shot the breeze and talked about running stuff. I am super excited for this race. So if you don't remember this race, the Too Slow for Boston Marathon, it is in Greer, South Carolina. So I'm going to be leaving Thursday morning before the rooster crows. I'm going to be on the road, and I'm actually going to stay the night in Tennessee, and then I will finish the rest of my drive the next day. I am actually going to go to Lynchburg, Tennessee. I am taking myself on a little mini vacation of like half a day, and I'm going to go see the Jack Daniel's distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee, because it's on the way to where I'm going. And truth be told, I am a little bit of a fan of Jack Daniel's and the stuff that they produce and the stuff that I can enjoy responsibly at times. So I'm going to go to see the place, maybe get a commemorative something, t-shirt, bottle, glass, something, I don't know, whatever they offer. I haven't been there before. And then I'm going to stay the night in Lynchburg, a little bed and breakfast, and then I'll finish my route to South Carolina the next day. Saturday, I'm going to roll into South Carolina, actually Friday evening, but Saturday is my first big day. First big day in South Carolina will be the Saturday. They don't have an expo because this is a pretty small race. So just pack and pick up. I'm going to go to pack and pick up, get my stuff, try and meet some of the people who are responsible for this race. This is put on by a run club. And it is to really, I feel like this is really to celebrate running. This is not a race I'm going to go just full out for. I just did that at Rock the Parkway. And I did that last year in Boston, where I just went as hard as I could, as fast as I could, and tried to be the best runner I could be. That is not this weekend. So the Too Slow for Boston Marathon, as you know, the last place finisher is the winner. The second to last place finisher is the second place winner. This is a race for everyone. This is to celebrate all ability levels, and I do mean all. There will be fast runners out there. There will be people who probably do maybe, I don't know, a 2:45, a 3:15 full marathon. And then there's going to be the people that take the 10, 11, possibly even a 12-hour full marathon. So the entire spectrum is covered on this. There's no time limit. And their officially unofficial slogan is, if you're fast enough to qualify for Boston, you're disqualified from this race. I find that hilarious. Now, I did not qualify for Boston. I was a charity bib for Boston last year. And side note, I cannot believe it's already been a year since I did Boston. Like, it feels like it was a couple weeks ago where I was in Massachusetts running the Boston Marathon. That is wild to me. That has been a year. Wild to me how much this show has grown in that year. But if you ever want to hear about the actual Boston Marathon, just scroll backwards on your Spotify and find the 2 episodes we did to cover the Boston Marathon last year, because I did run Boston last year. There's 2 episodes dedicated to talking about it. If you want to hear about actual Boston, listen to that. This is South Carolina, Too Slow for Boston, and I'm going to try and bring you absolutely everything I can. Now that we're doing videos, which we were not doing back then, we're doing videos. I'm going to try and take videos in South Carolina. I'm going to probably take some of the equipment just on the course. So this course is just a 1.3 mile loop that you do over and over. The whole neighborhood closes down. And I'm sure a lot of people will treat this like a block party. At least maybe that's just hopeful optimism on my part. But you just do it. You're just round and around and around. They say 20 laps gets you the full marathon. Okay. Thankfully for me, I've got a wearable, so I don't have to worry about counting because trust me, I will lose count quickly. But you just do the laps. So I'm going to take some recording equipment. I might grab it for a lap and then I'll just put it back with my stuff because 1.3 miles, I'll just have my own little cooler and chair sitting along the side of the road, near the start line ish area. I'll just have my own little aid station and I'll keep my stuff there. And I can grab a microphone and a selfie stick and I'll do a lap and record something. I'm hoping to do a lap maybe with the race director and we'll do an interview over the course of 1.3 miles. You don't know, I don't know, but we're going to see what comes out of this experience. But this will get South Carolina off of the 50 states for a marathon for me, and it's just going to be fun. I don't care what my time is. I don't care at all. Is it going to be my worst marathon time? No, I can guarantee you that it will not be. And I also can probably tell you it will not be my fastest either. But we're going to have a good time. And so that is coming up this weekend. Make sure that you stay tuned on all the social media platforms so that you can kind of follow along in Kyle's misadventures in South Carolina and a little bit in Tennessee and along the way and any other nonsense and shenanigans that I get into over the course of this week and into next week. It could be fun. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. So I did mention the YouTube. So I have this challenge for you guys. I got to quit saying so. I know it. I hear it. I can't stop myself. I did lay down the challenge last week about the YouTube channel. I would love, love, love for us to be over 100 subscribers before we go to Fargo next month. We go to Fargo at the end of May. Right now, we're not even to mid-April, so we got tons of time. We're now 15 away. So I'm hoping we can get to the 15. I did it again. I hope we can get to 15 more subscribers and more and get it over 100 before we go to Fargo. Again, YouTube is something that I focused on very, very, very late in the game. So I'm trying to play catch up. We are now almost to 2,000 followers on Facebook. Yes. Thank you all so very much for the follows and the likes and the participation. This thing is growing wonderfully, but please help out the YouTube channel because it needs help. Give us a subscribe. If you are listening to just a podcast platform, please continue to listen. If you ever want to see what my ugly mug and some of these medals look like, you can check us out, after the fact on YouTube. Easy peasy, right? This is how we grow. This is how we do the thing. I know I have been over it before several times. So I don't know what is coming up this weekend here in Kansas City because I won't be here. I know there's a couple 5Ks around town. If you are running around town, then I hope you have a great race. If you are not local to Kansas City, but you're still running a race this weekend, make sure you share with us next week on Medal Monday. Medal Monday, we always want to see your picture with your bling, whatever you earn for the weekend, so that people can see what's out there. This is one of the things I love is seeing what is out there, seeing races I've never heard of before, who has really cool medal. I just saw one yesterday, and it had nothing to do with the podcast. It was just me looking at social media. There was a race in Illinois yesterday or this past weekend, and the medal was huge, and it was a penny. It was a giant penny, and it was some kind of Abraham Lincoln themed medal. Of course, he's on the penny, but it was the coolest looking medal ever. So now I want to do that race. So if you do a race and it has a really cool medal, make sure you share it with us on Medal Monday so that other people can see it, and it kind of helps us choose what we're going to do throughout the year and what we might want to do next year. Trust me, it is actually very, very helpful when you post on Medal Monday because it gets us all dreaming about the other nonsense. Again, Tuesdays, we're going to start Training Tip Tuesday and Traveling Tuesday. So some will be if you have a good tip for people. The others will be if you did a traveling race outside of your own area and you took a picture, whether it be a selfie with the medal or something on the course, whatever you feel like sharing with everyone, we'll do that. Wednesdays are Charity Wednesdays. Okay, we just started this last week, and I want to share this with you guys. As a lot of us know, sometimes we can't get into the major marathons just on lottery or qualifying times alone. Sometimes we need a little bit of help, right? I had to raise a ton of money for Boston last year. And so many of you helped me with that. And I still can't thank you all enough. And I'll never ask you to do it again. But there are those trying to run Chicago, trying to run New York, trying to run Berlin on charity bibs, and they need our help. So on Charity Wednesday, what I did last time was I had everyone send me their links and I shared them in individual posts. I understand there were a lot of posts on Wednesday, and some of them kind of buried the others. And so I'm sorry about that. What we're going to do from now on Wednesday, I'm going to have just the Charity Wednesday post. And then all of you with a charity, I want you to share the links in the comments so that everyone can just be one-stop shop. They can see you, they can see what you're running, who you're raising funds for, the charity partner, and just boom, 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 boom. They're all right there, one post, and everyone can go through and look at them as you will. If you feel so inclined and you feel called to do so, I would ask that you would please try and donate to any of these charities and these runners that you can. Trust me, I know from experience, even $5 or $10 can make all the difference. If you just, again, if you feel called to help some of these folks out, they will all appreciate it so much. So anything you can do, I'm speaking for them, is greatly appreciated. So that is our Wednesday, Charity Wednesday. You guys are going to share the links when I get the post out there, and then one-stop shop, baby. Everyone, boom. There's all the people needing some help to get to the World Marathon Majors. And trust me, I'm here for it. I'm trying to donate as I can as well. Bear with me. Again, the podcast is funded by me and by Mrs. Back of the Pack podcast. And sometimes she's okay with what I spend on it, and sometimes she's not. She also can't hear me recording right now. So, yay, go team. On Thursdays, we have Race Shirt Thursday. Like I'm wearing the Rock the Parkway shirt for this year. Just share a selfie in whatever shirt that you wore. And then Fridays are Flashback Friday, an old picture from however long ago you wanted to go. I just posted one last week from my very first Rock the Parkway. A couple things. First, I wore my race shirt, which I know now is big faux pas. Don't do that. Don't wear the shirt of the race while you're doing the race. That's not right. Even though Cody does that, he spits in the face of tradition. And then the other thing I noticed, the pants I was wearing, those like slick wind pants that I guess were all the rage around 2011, or I was just already out of style. But either which way, my outfit was absolutely atrocious. I do feel as though I look better these days. Thank goodness for small favors. But that's our Flashback Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday are mostly race oriented. Whatever race we did, some pictures that either I took or others took that I steal and use, which maybe I should clear with folks, but I don't. But to all the people who end up taking pictures that I get to be in and then I share them for the podcast, I hope you don't mind. If you mind, let me know. I won't do it, but I figure I'm in them too, so I'm allowed to share, right? Right? We're going to go with that. That's what we're going to go with. So that's it. There's no big message for today, no tips or tricks. This was just kind of the Rock the Parkway review and the Too Slow for Boston preview. I'm super excited for the race coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I hope you guys will all follow along through the various social media platforms that we are on. Facebook and Instagram, like I said, are our big ones, and then we'll have YouTube. There is even a TikTok. There's a Back of the Pack TikTok page. I do my best. I'm not good with this stuff. I'm 44, so I don't get it. Like TikTok is foreign to me, but we've had some success with the videos I posted. I just need to get better about it. I'm sorry. But I would love your follow on the TikTok page. We definitely want your subscription on the YouTube channel. That's where we're hitting hard right now. And then, of course, we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, anywhere you listen to your podcast, we're there. So I know this is a lot of stuff you've heard me say before, and I say it a lot at the expos, but anything we can do to get the word out. I told you guys, okay, and I'm going off, kind of off topic and kind of not. I told you at the very first episode of this year that 2024 is make or break for this podcast. We either become successful or we probably have to pack it in at the end of the year because of the amount of money that we spend on it. Right now, we are leaning towards successful. We really are. I am super happy with how things are turning out. I love it that people participate and play along. I would just, if we can get a little more of it, a little more, and we're freaking golden. But I want to thank you all so much for listening, watching, sharing, playing along with the social media stuff. All the interactions are glorious. They're wonderful. They're exactly what we need to keep this podcast going. There's the little star formula thing on Facebook. Anytime we do a reel or a post, if it says give these guys stars, if you give us stars, man, that's like super, super helpful. That's kind of how we can make money through Facebook, and making money through Facebook would be really great. Because so far, the amount of money we've made through Facebook for the whole entirety of the show is $3. $3. So again, I hate asking for money. You guys know me back when I was raising money for Boston. I hated asking for money. This isn't for charity though. This is if you enjoy the podcast, give us some stars and we can keep going and we can, maybe branch out and do more things. We'll see. But that's kind of where we're at with the social media stuff. I just like keeping everyone updated. I'm honest and transparent. I'll tell you how it is and the way it's going to be. So this is our make or break year. This is what we're doing. So here we go. And I know this whole last part of the show, you guys are like, this is not running related. Shut up. Quit talking about it. And you know what? I will. I'm going to shut up about it right now. So everyone have a great week of training. Have a great race next weekend, whatever you might be doing, as I am in South Carolina. Please follow all the social media platforms for whatever fun shenanigans we get into, and then we're going to be back. Now, next week's episode, I'm traveling on Monday. I'll be trying to get back into town as fast as I can, but I cannot promise you a new episode Monday. Worst case scenario, it has to come out on Tuesday because I didn't make it back from South Carolina in time. I don't want to get a speeding ticket because we just covered the money stuff. So bear with me if I am a little late getting an episode out next week. That's what traveling does. Other than that, have a great week of training. We will see you next week. And thank you all so much for everything you do for the podcast. I really cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. We'll see you next week.